Hi, I'm Laura from Ontario Business Central, and I'm with Vaishali from BioTroopers. She has a business here in Toronto, Ontario, and we want to hear all about it. So, tell me what your business does.
First and foremost, Laura, thank you so much for having me over here.
You're very
And I'm very
welcome.
excited to talk about BioTroopers. So BioTroopers is a hands-on STEM program for elementary school kids with focus on biology. So we introduce this vast, beautiful world of biology to kids using hands-on experiments, art, music, and theater. And we explore topics such as what's in your genes and the journey into a cell, all the way to the time when dinosaurs walked the planet. So the idea of this program is that kids have fun while also learning some biology.
So, what made you decide to do this?
About 2 years ago, when my daughter was about 6 years old, she was out playing on like a summer day. And I remember telling her, Maya, come on in. You got to have your sunscreen on if you're playing out in the sun. Otherwise, your DNA is going to get mutated. She's like, wait, what is DNA? So I'm like, DNA is this blueprint that you've got in your cell, which makes you uniquely you. So she's like, what's a cell? And then that just opened up this conversation where she wanted to know more how, DNA worked. And then I was like, okay, wow, this kid is so curious. I need to sign her up for after school lessons in biology. I looked around, there's nothing I could find. It's one of those times when you're like, you want to see the change, be the change.
Yes.
And I have a background in biology. So I was like, well, I can bring that lab, the cool biology that happens in lab, to kids.
That is taking the leap.
And that was the moment I took the leap. Yeah.
So, did you leave your full-time job and go directly into this, or did you continue to work and then gradually move to having this be your life?
I left my full-time job to do BioTroopers full-time. I did consider kind of balancing both, but I would not be doing justice to either. And we had our first program over March break 2023. We had a handful of kids just to pilot the program, test it out. And the feedback was incredible. The kids loved it, the parents loved it, and that gave me the answer that we could do this.
How did you promote the business?
Yeah, it took me a while to figure that one out. Something very new to me. Initially, it was looking at local advertisers. I've walked around to cafes asking them if they could hold on to flyers. And again, the community support on this has been incredible. Some of the already established organizations, they definitely gave me a leg up. They already had a brick and mortar store, presence. They gave me space to get this started. And I am so thankful to them for giving me that initial support and also spreading the word to their existing clientele.
Tell me something that really scared you about starting or operating a business.
Oh, wow. Several things. Before this, my experience had been very much working in a lab, doing cancer research in the pharma company. When I had to do this, at BioTroopers, it was everything. Everything was new. So right from figuring out how do you get started? Like, okay, so maybe should I incorporate? Should I just register? I had moments of self-doubt, if I would make the right decisions. Putting the curriculum together, all of that was very simple because I knew exactly what I had to do. But all of these other things that had to happen with running my own business, it was scary. Like, had all of those second thoughts. But towards the end, I was just trying things out and it worked out.
It sounds like you love having the kids and teaching them about biology. What has given you that passion just having the business?
It's having this idea on the back of your head. You think it's a great idea. I mean, a lot of people think their ideas are great. It's one thing. But to actually take a step back and put everything into, making that dream come true, because making those dreams come true requires a lot of work. I think it's fulfilling. The people that I'm trying to make happy are kids.
Right.
So once I'm done with work, when I go back, the worst that I've dealt with is like a kid saying that another kid did not share their samples with them. So I'm like, okay, it's been a good day. I go back feeling very good. So I think that whole feeling has been incredibly rewarding.
You talked about looking at registering versus incorporating, what were the factors that you went through to decide which way you were going to go?
I think the biggest one was to sort of at the get-go keep my personal finances separate from my business finances. I didn't want those two to mix up. So that was the primary reason. I did have a CPA who helped me go through the registration process through Ontario Business Central. I read a lot of information that was on your website too, all of which has been super helpful for someone who's starting this up new, and incorporation seemed to be the best way forward.
What did you think of moving from just having your personal tax to having both personal and corporate tax?
With taxes, something like I'm out of my depth, so I did bring in an accountant very early on to help figure out how to go about it. I'm very grateful that they take care of all of my corporate taxes.
How do you balance the demands of your home and your business?
That's a super interesting question, because the work that I do, like, so if I'm building a new curriculum, my beta testing are my kids at home. Like right now, my daughter, who's going to turn 8 soon, I test it out with her. And sometimes she also works on these experiments alongside me. So in that way, I think it's been so well integrated into our everyday life. So I've got like my lab and like the kitchen and our dining room all together. They all just like flow into each other. But of course, there's the other part of business too, which is not like the fun setting up experiments, where there's like a lot of other work. I definitely have more flexibility now on when I can get that done. I can always work on it late nights.
How are things going with your spouse and your new role?
My husband, he's been super supportive with this whole venture right from the get-go. What also happens now, I think about this all the time. That can sometimes lead to all my conversations with him being about one new idea or another. He's been super supportive about listening to them and sharing his thoughts. I think for any new business owner, we're initially constantly going to think about it, because working full-time, you get done with your job, you come home and you're done. There's like work life and there's home life.
Yes.
Now it's very hard to divide the two. I'm making the conscious effort to make sure those two are separate.
So you're a female entrepreneur. How does that separate you, or does it?
Interesting question, because I don't know about separating me. I think it's actually a great thing, me happening to be female, because I think we need more women in science. Being a vehicle for this change, getting more school kids into the sciences is, and then being a female while doing that, it tells them that they can do whatever they want. Like there's no differences in which field that you want to choose. It's as much for girls as it is for boys.
Did you have mentors, or do you now, as you go through your experience of having a business?
There've been so many people who've helped me in different aspects of the business. My sister, for example, was my biggest mentor when it came to social media. But then I've had other business owners who run after school programs. You know, I remember asking them, hey, would you be willing to talk to me? I just want to know if this idea that I have, am I like absolutely bonkers to be doing this? Like leaving my full-time job and doing this? Like, do you think it's too crazy? Because if it is, just tell me. They spend the time to talk to me, to tell me, you want to do this? Do it. It's not that crazy. This is where we all started.
Do you have any new initiatives coming up for BioTroopers?
So we definitely have a few on the roadmap. We currently offer a program to 4 to 6 year olds and then 6 to 12 year olds. Down the line, we're looking at expanding that age group, offering it to older kids, more giving them an opportunity to work on a biology-focused science fair project.
So if you could provide advice to a new entrepreneur, what would you tell them?
To budding entrepreneurs, the advice I would give them is that definitely take a moment to think about what you want to do. Dreams do come true, but it requires a lot of work. They are going to require a lot of sacrifice. While you might think you're going to get more flexibility, it's probably going to take up much more of your time. So considering all of that is critical before you go on into your entrepreneurial journey. But then once you do, I think it's going to be an incredible experience.
So let's talk about what scared you as an entrepreneur, because that's one thing that keeps people in a place of not moving forward.
What scared me as an entrepreneur, there've definitely been a few things. Perhaps the biggest has been sometimes being told no. You're like, I've got this incredible program and I'm like so excited to have your kid come attend it. But then on the other end, the parent, they don't seem that excited, and just hearing the no's, the rejection, it can really get to you. It's something someone told me, like it really rang true to me, which was that when people say good things and they appreciate you, don't let it get to your head. And when people say things which aren't that great, don't let it get to your heart.
So tell me how you came up with the name for BioTroopers.
That was a fun part of this whole process. I knew I needed to have a biology in there. So I'm originally from India. When I came to North America, I've heard the term "you're a trooper" being used quite a bit.
Yes.
And then I realized that term meant like, well, you get things done. I like the sound of the term. So it's like BioTroopers. Let's see how it sounds. So shared it with a few of my family members and friends, and they all said they liked it. So it's like, we'll just go with that.
Well, it stands out. It's a name that you can easily remember.
Yep, so there you go.
Well, you know what? It's been my pleasure to have you, and thank you for taking your time and talking to us about what it's been like for you since you started your business in 2022. We really appreciate it. So thank you for being on Taking the Lead.
Thank you so much, Laura, for having me over. I've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.